Alright, so I have watched a stereotypically, I guess one could say. I mean, I don't know if I'm watching too many of these lately. It seems like it is. And they don't tend to be the best kind of comedy, but you know, I didn't mind Introverted Boss because it had other elements. But this, yeah. So I've watched a another rom-com, the Stammer movie, and it's something like I mean, it's not even my favorite comedy genre or anything, like sub genre or something. It really is not. But I ended up watching it anyway because I wanted comedy generally, and I didn't find anything else, and before I found this anyway. So anyway, yeah, and you never know what to do. I've seen some, I've seen good ones. I mean, I've seen better. So it's not like they're all stereotypically so and such. I mean, it still had some laughs, right? So this one is called I Give It a Year, and it had some laughs, but it relied on this strange sort of humor, I guess. But I don't know, it was still funny, I guess one could say, just not subtly funny, not the kind of comedy that relies on wit. It really is blunt, you know. So not even like, I mean, I guess one could say Perverted Boss was sort of a rom-com, but it was also it also had obviously um, business topics with it as well. So but I don't know. It was, in my opinion, slightly more subtle than this one. With this one, it was very. It relied a lot on, let's say, cringe humor, I suppose one might say. I don't think it was the case as much, at least in the introverted one. But I don't know. I guess one could still say that about rom-coms. Like any rom-com, it could fail. I guess it's not. It is what it is. It is still a mix of genres, which theoretically could be. I mean, Spellbound did have romance and comedy, also included her. So I mean, I don't know. It worked. So it worked more than ever, right? In my opinion, Spellbound. It is probably, I suppose, one could say, one of my favorite rom-coms, but it's not just obviously a rom-com. That's the thing. I don't know. Maybe if you add a bit of horror to all rom-coms, would they improve? I don't know. Not necessarily. I suppose maybe it's just the way it was written and such that somehow made it better than many others. But yeah, this one relied on predictability. I suppose one could say like literally the title gives it away. Um, Not that these kind of movies are about it's not like they would have spoilers as such, or will consider anything that happens a spoiler unless it's something a big thing that happens. Anyway, yeah, but it is what it is. It's just very cheesy. So like I mean, it's alright. The humor was blunt, but even when they weren't trying humor, I'm not sure why they tried anything other than humor really. They did try to be a bit romantic as well, supposedly. Uh, Often just sexual, but it's I don't know. Even that was it had similar sort of cringy elements. Yeah, because obviously it can never be real. I mean, you don't go in the rom com thinking this is going to be a real romance. It just doesn't. Apart from saying that, and introverted boss did have a end up with a real romance, but that was a much more slow burner, much more of a build up. But of course, it was serious. But I'm just saying, it's still possible. I suppose you might end up with something real that you feel is real at least. With this one, well, obviously, it's meant to be not. possible from the get go. Somehow it's everyone thinks that it just won't work, etc. That's not even the point, is it? The point isn't to see whether it works or not. The point is just to write it out for its humor, I suppose. That's the point, really. But stories are always useful as well. I mean, plots are crucial in any movie, really, and the best movies have the best plots, really. Along with, though, the best music, the best cinematography, etc., the best, I suppose, acting, although it's usually subjective. Yeah, with this one, I don't know, it was just strange all around, and then they had this um, very sort of scripted ending as well. It's sort of it's like you're doing 1 plus 1 or something. It's very very predictable, and they keep on saying, oh, it's so weird to do this and that, and if it it's like they kept saying that, they kept doing that stuff, and the only thing that made it not weird at the end is to go behind a metallic pole thing, um, cover each other's eyes. It's I don't know. But other than that, I suppose with regards to the comedy, it wasn't. I mean, not funny. Like um, see, like, if one compares, for example, Saint Phineas, that has a different sort of comedy. That's more slapstick. So it's slightly different. But it's still not very subtly done. I mean, some of it might be, some isn't though. So some does rely on language, so it's a bit strange, it's not wholly one thing or another. Of course, it, I suppose it's sort of comedy from the past, so um, I don't know. I suppose comedy these days have a different sort of mindset to it. I mean, I'm saying that these days, this is already 8 years old now. Same thing as the original is 70 years old, so there's the difference. But I mean, just Saint Phineas had this sort of underhanded smile thing that could possibly happen, for the audience. That is, I personally, have experienced. It wasn't a laugh out loud sort of comedy. I got to admit there were some instances when I did the latter with this movie. Yeah, some instances they were still blunt comedy attempts. So it's not like I'm not laughing to the subtle, really great stand up or something. No, they were quite blunt, but somehow sometimes it works, even though it's one of its is cringeworthy, and it just I don't know. Sometimes it does work. Whereas many of the old comedy films seemingly thought that um, trying to catch up with a car in some sort of hurried way and with loads of chaos is comedic. Now, I don't know honestly who and how they find it comedic, but I just don't. Not even an underhanded smile thing. Now, on the other hand, I mean, what, uh, what, what I liked about Centurions, to compare it again, is like these sort of little bits, that guy who sells black market stuff coming out from a tree and such, But obviously, it's not laugh out loud sort of scenario, laugh out loud situation. It's this sort of underhanded smile, because that's really that's this. On the other hand, yeah, I mean, just um, it's still really it did go too far a bit, so I cannot even say I cannot say the comedy specifically was as good as Introverted Boss. Yeah, no, that was more refined comedy in my opinion. I mean, this like references to you know, yeah, the toilets and such were made in this movie, and that's obviously very very blunt. That's the lowest form of humor, if it is at all humor, and that wasn't done. And as it happens, it wasn't done in Introverted Boss either. Although I checked out its so-called prequel, or not prequel. I mean, just special whatever at the beginning they called it, where two journalists, I don't know who they were, talked about it, and apparently there's another series I haven't watched yet where there were such blunt references made and scenarios from, I think, the same director. So I'm not saying the director himself never uses such a plot line. I personally do not really care about it at all. Literally the only time I ever laughed is because of the context and how it happened and everything was in Gintama, but that's its own thing, it's quite crazy in its own way, and the way they did it was, um, somehow they did manage to make it funny. Other than that, I don't usually find them funny at all, really. Um, yeah. So it did go to some extremes sometimes. Even linguistically, it went, this movie. Not always, but you know, I've liked some of the script, I suppose you could say. All right, so the end there, where they made a sort of reverse proposal thing, where he asked her to divorce him instead of marrying him, but yet again they acted like it was a proposal instead of a divorce. So that seemed very straightforward, very blunt in a way for what it is. But still, despite that, I liked how, I mean, I had never seen it before, so it's new to me. Anything new is good, I think. And I just liked how they reversed it pretty much. But it still wasn't laugh out loud sort of scenario, really. So not saying it was. There were some of the moments where I guess one could say there were laugh out loud moments, but not many still. But just, yeah, personally, I think the comedy I like most is stand up usually, which doesn't involve that much slapstick. Although some comedians do utilize that. So just comedy that relies on language, I guess, mainly. It tends to be most effective. Now it did have some linguistic sort of humor, but not even most of that was blunt. Relying a lot on reversals yet again, but it also sort of like, just like the restaurant scene, right? I mean, the restaurant was so brilliant. I don't even know who those people were, which is another, I suppose, weak point. I mean, I don't know why they introduced people or even introducing them, but never mind. This is not a character drama, I guess I would say, so that doesn't matter. But I mean, the restaurant was so brilliant and such, but then you know, they had to, someone ended up mentioning their time abroad and such, and it's just bizarre. I mean, obviously it's meant to uh, freak out others eating there supposedly, but in reality, it's, I don't think the audience finds it funny either. So I mean, there's a situation where the other people sitting at the same table aren't finding it funny, but I find it very hard to believe that the audience will as well. So if the people at the table don't find it funny, why put it there at all? I mean, they obviously put it there just to annoy absolutely everyone. Right? There's no point really. I mean, why would a script writer think, yeah, let's just put the worst possible thing we can think of, just the worst possible, the most disgusting thing. I mean, I don't go to comedy for disgust, right? Yeah, some horror already has a lot of that, and I don't go for that either. You know, I don't do that. Yeah, just I I don't get disgust in comedy. Just, disgust isn't comedic. You know, I mean there are some other like blunt comedy attempts that were as well in the same movie, like when it comes to the the picture thing that kept on going on and on, you know. It's a sort of similar attempt, except it's to do with obviously scandalizing people, etc. That is sort of funny somehow, especially the way they played it, and he tried to make it seem like yeah, it's more sightseeing, more touristy things or something. He narrated it like that. So you know, it's not as revolting as the restaurant scene, and the restaurant scene shouldn't have been revolting really. The restaurant was one of the most had the most incredible seemed to have an incredible atmosphere. I mean, obviously, unless you're in the restaurant itself, one doesn't know what it's like. But from looking at it, it seemed like it did. Somehow they just thought that they had to ruin it with this stupid script. Like how, you know? It's one of those things, you know. But also, I don't know why it's a collaboration between three countries apparently. I don't know why two countries need to be involved. It seemed like it was only something that one country did. I mean, it was filmed in one country apparently. Yeah, anyway, also another blunt thing and utterly uncomedic thing in my opinion is the thing with the doves. I mean, you know, what's the point of that? Um, you know, he knew he failed at ruling her that point anyway, so, but she was annoyed and, you know, I'm not sure sometimes honestly whether the scriptwriters think this through and, you know, honestly, genuinely believe that people will find it funny, you know, with the doves going all around trying to peck people out. I don't know, I'm not sure, but no, specifically thought when they went into the fan, you know, and she actually mentioned it before, so the audience is expecting it. That that's absolutely not supposed to be funny. That's the most ridiculous thing. It was seriously meant to be funny, and you know, in a comedy movie, I'm not supposed to be worried about what doves may do, but never mind. Yeah.